Good morning, students. We are discussing chapter number 7, control and coordination in plants and animals. Okay. So far we have discussed a few things about control and coordination in plants, about various types of movement. Okay, movements can be related to growth or anything else. It may not be related to growth in plants. Okay, we have discussed about, for example, how a touch-me-not plant, okay, it folds its leaves in response to touch. Okay, that has nothing to do with the growth of the plant. If the leaves of the plant don't fold, its growth is not going to stop. That kind of movement is different from the next kind of movement that we are going to discuss. We are going to now discuss movement due to growth. Okay, for example, when we human beings, when a child grows, it's growing from its extremities. There is overall growth. Okay, for example, the baby, as it grows bigger, its fingers become bigger, thumb becomes bigger, the hands become bigger, the muscles become bigger. Okay, the head becomes proportionately bigger, the legs also elongate, the bones elongate, the muscles elongate, and the internal organs also grow bigger. The kidney of a baby is much smaller compared to the kidney of an adult human being. So that is growth kind of movement. Okay, that movement is different. And the same thing happens in plants also. There is movement due to other factors other than growth. Okay, the touch-me-not plant, for example. Okay, when you touch it, it folds its leaves. That is a different kind of movement. Okay, it has nothing to do with growth. But now we come to movement due to growth. Okay, for example, as we have discussed earlier, if you take a seed of any plant, okay, and you plant it in a potted plant को लेके उसके अंदर थोड़ा सा plant कर दो एक दो seeds को. After a few days, you will see the seed germinates, it breaks open, it germinates. Okay, और उसमें से दो section निकलते हैं. एक section goes downwards, okay, to form the root system, and it goes towards the soil, deep into the soil, towards the earth. And the other part, the upper part, it breaks through the soil. Okay, it breaks to the top of the soil, and in the air it moves towards the light. Okay, so that kind of movement is different. It has got everything to do with growth. Okay, that movement has to continue. So the plant, from a small seed, it germinates into a small seedling or a sapling, and from that it becomes an entirely big tree. Okay, that movement is different because it is related to growth. Now these movements, okay, related to growth are called tropic movements. In plants, these movements are related to growth and they are called tropic movements. But these tropic movements are of different types. For example, in the case of a plant, the movement of the roots towards water, okay, water is hydro, so hydrotropism. Tropism is movement, but hydrotropism is movement towards water. So plants exhibit various kinds of movement depending upon its growth and factors related to growth. For example, the upper part moves towards light. That is called phototropism. Phototropism, photo means light. Tropism means movement towards light. Okay. There are many plants which always, for example, the most common one is the sunflower. The sunflower tends to point towards the sun. Although the movement is very slow, we almost cannot detect it, but they generally tend to face the sunlight. But that is the case with most plants. You see that they prefer the light because sunlight helps them to produce food in the form of photosynthetic process or photosynthetic products. So it's essential to understand that there are various kinds of movement associated with growth. Okay, now we are going to discuss that movement due to growth. Some plants, like the pea plant, climb up other plants or fences by means of tendrils. Tendrils in छोटे-छोटे branches होते हैं, एकदम पतले, thicker than your hair, but thinner than my little finger. Okay, those tendrils, they keep for example, the money plant. Okay, money plant is not a huge plant. It is a creeper. It creeps along the ground, and then if it finds some support like a wire or a pole, it will go around it like that. Okay, that kind of growth also takes place, but it's due to it has a, you see, the money plant also goes towards light, towards water, and it needs support to grow taller because the nature of the plant. These creepers, they creep along the ground, or they have tendrils with the help of which they can take support and climb up other plants or pole. These tendrils are sensitive to touch. When they come in contact with any support, the part of the tendril in contact with the object does not grow as rapidly as the part of the tendril away from the object. Okay, so the inner part of the tendrils that grows slowly, the outer part grows faster. So as a result of difference in growth, it begins to creep around the other support. This causes the tendril to circle around the object and thus cling to it. It's, they just like parasites. Okay, they depend upon other plants for support. This causes the tendril to circle around the object and thus cling to it. More commonly, plants respond to stimuli slowly by growing in a particular direction. Okay, of course, in the case of plants, the growth is always slow. It takes a few days for the seeds to germinate. It takes several weeks for the saplings to grow into a bush or a shrub. Because this growth is directional, it appears as if the plant is moving. Let us understand this type of movement with the help of an example. This is not locomotion. This movement is actually localized movement. It is localized in the sense that it does not take the plant from one place to another place. It is localized. The plant remains there itself, but parts of its body grow bigger, taller, shorter, thicker, and things like that. And that's why it is perceived by us as movement. Alright, now let's go ahead further. Let us take an example of this kind of movement where a plant shows directional movement due to growth. Okay, look at this activity here now. Okay, this activity shows fill a conical flask with water, cover the neck of the flask with a wire mesh, wire netting. Keep 2 or 3 freshly germinated bean seeds on the wire mesh. Bean seeds, जैसे for example rajma seeds. राजमा के seeds बड़े brown color के होते हैं और आराम से दिखते भी है क्योंकि वो काफी kidney के shape जैसे होते हैं. Okay, cover the neck of the flask with a wire mesh. Keep 2 or 3 freshly germinated bean seeds on the wire mesh. Take a cardboard box which is open from one side. Keep the flask in the box in such a manner that the open side of the box faces the light coming from the window. After 2 or 3 days, you will notice that the shoot bends towards the light and the roots away from the light. Now turn the flask so that the shoots are away from the light and the roots towards the light. Leave it undisturbed in this condition for a few days, and after a few days come and have a look at it again. Is there a change? You will find that there is a change. Alright, now look at the diagram of that. See, there is a cardboard box or even a wooden support will do this. You don't have to have a cardboard box which is cut from one side. But the idea of the cardboard box is to protect it from the other direction of the light. Okay, the potted plant, in this case a conical flask is there. You can even take a potted plant also. But in a potted plant you will not see it, you will not be able to see the roots. So a transparent conical flask filled with water. Water is the most important nutrient. Okay, so it is filled with water and you take a few a wire mesh on top. It is a wire netting, nothing but a thin wire netting. उसके ऊपर 2-3 germinated seeds रखे हैं. And after some time, why germinated seeds? Because they have already developed a little bit downward movement for the roots and upward movement for the shoots. You can, from a germinated seed, you can see small pieces coming out. The upper part will form the shoot system, the lower form will form the root system. Now if you can look at it carefully here, you see, they have shown it after it has germinated a lot. मतलब थोड़ी देर के बाद, few days later, you will see the roots facing away from the light. Window के पास रखा है, window में से sunlight आ रही है daily, okay? And few days later, you will see the shoot, the upper part, okay, the leaves and the shoot, they are branching slightly or bending slightly towards the window where the sunlight is, whereas the roots are bending away from light. So this kind of movement is called phototropism. Photo means light. This is phototropism. But phototropism of what? Positive and negative phototropism. The roots show negative phototropism because they are bending away from light. So in this case, both the shoot as well as the root show phototropism. But the shoot, the upper part shows positive phototropism, whereas the roots show negative phototropism. Phototropism, they bend away from the light. Okay. So when a plant bends away from the light, it is negative phototropism. When the shoot, in this case, bends towards the light, it is called positive phototropism. Okay. Tropism means movement. Photo means light. Okay. So you got different kinds of movements. After a few days, you will again see. अगर उसको थोड़ी देर के लिए उल्टा कर दो, रूट को लाइट की तरफ रखो, शूट को लाइट की अलग से रखो, okay, away from the light. A few days later, the opposite will again happen. Again, the shoot will face towards the light and the roots will go away from the light. This is natural, okay, because the shoots, okay, they require, whereas the root has to go into the soil. Okay, what can you conclude from this? This is just what I just said. Okay, now let us see environmental triggers such as light or gravity, okay, will change the direction that plants growth. Okay, environmental triggers such as light or gravity will change the direction that plants parts grow in. These directional or tropical movements can be towards the stimulus or away from it. So in two different kinds of phototropic movements, shoots respond by bending towards light while roots respond by bending away from it. How does this help the plants? You can see in this case. Okay, the most important thing to understand is that positive tropism means towards, negative phototropism means away. Okay, so here the environment is triggering. Here in this case it is light which triggers it. Okay, gravity will change the direction that plants parts grow in. These directional or tropical movements can be towards the stimulus or away from it. So in the two different kinds of phototropic movements, shoots respond by bending towards light while roots respond by bending away from it. And how does it help? It helps in growth, because the leaves have to produce, with the help of sunlight, they have to produce photosynthetic products. Okay, they have to produce starch, which is actually a food for the plants. Alright, now you can see geotropism. Let us discuss geotropism. What is geotropism? The word geo means earth. So geotropism means bending. Geotropism means bending towards the earth, into the soil. So in this case, opposite is there. The roots show positive geotropism, whereas the roots, that is the the shoots, the upper part, it shows negative geotropism because it is going away from the earth, okay, against gravity. It is not going towards the earth. That is not it is opposite to gravity. The shoot is going upwards, opposite to gravity, opposite the earth. So the shoot shows negative geotropism, whereas the shoot shows positive phototropism. In the same way, the root shows negative phototropism, but the root also shows positive geotropism. Okay, yes, let us go ahead further. Okay, plants show tropism in response to other stimuli as well. The roots of a plant always grow downwards while the shoots usually grow upwards and away from the earth. This upward and downward growth of shoots and roots respectively in response to the pull of earth or gravity is obviously geotropism. If hydrotropism means water and chemo refers to chemicals, what would be hydrotropism and chemotropism? Well, it's very easy to understand. Hydro means water. The root shows hydrotropism because it has to be pulled, it pulls itself towards the water. पानी soil के अंदर होता है, तो soil की तरफ जाता है अंदर. Roots को पानी की तलाश होती है. So they are always in search of water. The roots, they go deeper and deeper into the soil in search of water. So the roots show hydrotropism. Similarly also, there are certain chemicals, okay, salts dissolved in water or any other, okay, for example, a flower. During pollination, okay, last year you studied in 9th class, during pollination, ऊपर एक pollen tube develop होती है और pollen tube directly ovules की तरफ जाती है जहाँ पे ovaries के अंदर egg cells होते हैं. So that movement of the ovules, or rather the movement of the pollen tube towards the ovules, that is an example of chemotropism towards those chemicals, that is the egg cells. So one example of chemotropism is the growth of pollen tube towards the ovules. This is exactly what I was saying, about which we have learned more than when we examined the reproductive processes of living organisms in class 9. Let us now once again think about how information is communicated in the bodies of multicellular organisms. The movement of the sensitive plant in response to touch is very quick. The movement of sunflower in response to day or night, on the other hand, is quite slow. Growth-related movement of plants will be even slower. Now just think about this. I have given this example earlier, how a mongoose and a snake fight. Both of them are very fast. Okay, the response is extremely fast. Similarly, if someone tries to punch you in the face, your response will be very fast. Okay, your eyelids will close to protect your eyes. That will be very, very fast. The blinking of the eye is a reflex action. It's extremely fast. Okay, so the response of animals is different, and the response of plants is generally very slow. Okay, because the requirements are accordingly. Nobody is going to go and punch a plant. Okay, because well, we don't do that sort of thing. It would be madness. So plants have different requirements, and therefore their response is slightly different. All right. Even in animal bodies, there are carefully controlled directions to growth. Our arms and fingers grow in certain directions only, not anywhere. Okay, वो तो एक फ्रीक हो जाएगा. जैसे कुछ उत्तर प्रदेश और मध्य प्रदेश और बिहार में कुछ गांव में कुछ लोग जब एक काफ एक काफ को पूंछ अलग जगह पे पूंछ होती है तो फिर उसका पैर एक 5 पैर होता है, एक छोटा सा पैर कहीं और आ जाता है, तो उन लोगों को कुछ करिश्मा लगता है और वो लोग पूजा पाठ करने लगते हैं बस इस तरह से. ओके, एक केस है, देयर वाज वन केस यू सी उत्तर प्रदेश when boy was born, of course he then became a young teenager. He was born with a tail like thing, okay, in his backbone. And well, you know what mentality that is. And people started praying to him and worshipping him and think that he is God or something like that. Okay, and that kind of thing. But that is a freak. Okay, that doesn't happen naturally. Our fingers grow in the right place. Okay, our eyes grow in the right place. The ears are in the right place. Everywhere. All kind of growth is predetermined. It's in a particular place. It doesn't happen haphazardly. So even in animal bodies, there are carefully controlled directions to growth. Our arms and fingers grow in certain directions, not haphazardly. So controlled movements can be either slow or fast. Okay. So whenever there is a controlled movement, okay, that movement can be fast or it can be slow. But it depends upon the stimulus. If fast responses to stimuli are to be made, information must travel very fast, very quickly across the body. For this, the medium of transmission must be able to move rapidly. देखो, for example, हमारी जो रेलवेज है, रेलवेज को जो अभी फिलहाल जो हमारे पास सिस्टम है, the current system of railway networks, वो पटरी, पुरानी पटरी और वो सब, उसके ऊपर बुलेट ट्रेन दौड़ाने की कोशिश करोगे तो एक्सीडेंट ही होगा, लोग मर जाएंगे. ओके, उस सिस्टम ऑफ रेल ट्रैक्स, वो रेलवे ट्रैक की जो पटरियां हैं उसको बदलनी पड़ेगी, पूरी सिस्टम को बदलाना पड़ेगा, फिर उसके ऊपर बुलेट ट्रेन दौड़ सकती है. सो द नेटवर्क दिस शुड बी देयर इन द बॉडी टू रिस्पॉन्ड टू क्विक स्टिमुलाई. जब स्टिमुलस एकदम ऐसा होता है तो हमारे बॉडी के पास वो रिस्पॉन्स करने का मैकेनिज्म चाहिए. अगर वो मैकेनिज्म नहीं है तो हम इतना फास्ट रिस्पॉन्स नहीं कर सकते हैं. इन द केस ऑफ प्लांट्स that they don't have that kind of super highway where information can travel from one plant body one part of the plant body to another plant. Okay, that is simply not possible. That information highway is not there. Our body has that, and that's why we can respond to certain stimuli. We can respond very fast. But let's discuss that part now. Okay, electrical impulses are an excellent means for this, but there are limitations to use of electrical impulses. Firstly, they will reach only those cells that are connected by nervous tissues, not each and every cell in the human body. So the system of nerves that we have discussed so far, the neurons, which are all interconnected by axon and dendrites, that neurons are not spread everywhere in the body, and therefore response of if there is an electrical impulse, the limitation is that the whole body will not respond. So we need a different method. Okay. First, they will reach only those cells that are connected by nervous tissue, not every single cell in the body. Secondly, okay, once an electrical impulse is generated in a cell and transmitted, the cell will take some time to reset its mechanism before it can generate and transmit a new impulse. So the process is very slow. All right. In other words, the cells cannot continuously create and transmit electrical impulses. It is thus no wonder that most multicellular organisms use another means of communication between the cells, namely chemical communication. And that is where hormones come into the picture. Hormones are chemicals secreted by different parts of the body. उसकी वजह से पूरा body respond कर सकता है. If instead of generating an electrical impulse, stimulated cells release a chemical compound, this compound would diffuse all around the original cell. If other cells around have the means to detect this compound using spatial molecules on the surfaces, then they will be able to recognize information and even transmit that information to the next cell. This will be slower, of course, but it can potentially reach all the cells of the body regardless of nervous connection. उसमें nervous tissue या तो nervous system की कोई जरूरत नहीं है. It is a chemical process by which information is transmitted. Okay, and it can be done steadily and persistently, continuously. These compounds or hormones, these compounds are called hormones, used by multicellular organisms for control and coordination, show a great deal of diversity, as we would expect. Different plant hormones help to coordinate growth, development, and responses to environment. They are synthesized at places away from where they act and simply diffuse to the area of action. Let us take an example that we have worked with earlier. Okay, when growing plants detect light, a hormone called auxin, okay, synthesized at the shoot tip, helps the cells to grow longer. Alright, so see, I have pushed the question out here. Okay, what are hormones? Give examples of plant hormones. What are plant hormones? Auxins are plant hormones, gibberellins, cytokinins, okay, abscisic acid. Auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins, abscisic acid. These are examples of plant hormones. They have got different functions in the plant body. Auxins are produced at the shoot tip. Okay, so when light is synthesized from one side, when light is coming from one side of the plant, auxins diffuse towards the shady side of the shoot. This consideration of auxins stimulates the cells to grow longer on the side of the shoot which is away from the light. If supposing, see, this side becomes longer, then obviously my hand would go this way, because this would be the shorter side and this would be the longer side. The same thing happens in a shoot. Okay, as soon as light falls on one side, the other side begins to produce more cells and begins to produce auxins. Okay, on the other side, and as a result, see, once again, when growing plants detect light, a hormone called auxin, synthesized at the shoot tip, means at the top of the shoot, okay, helps the cells to grow longer. When those cells grow longer, the plant appears to grow longer on one side, and therefore it bends. Shady shoot of this concentration of auxin stimulates the cells to grow longer on the side of the shoot which is away from the light. Thus the plant appears to bend towards the light. Okay. Another example of plant hormones are gibberellins, which, like auxins, help in the growth of the stem. It makes the stem longer. Cytokinins promote cell division. Without cytokinins, cell division would not take place and growth would not take place. And it is natural then that they are present in greater concentration in areas of rapid cell division such as in fruits and seeds. Cell division fruits and seeds में होता है. Okay, also at the root tip होती है ना, वहाँ पे भी cell division होता है. And therefore that is called the meristematic part of the root stem. Okay, the root part, the tip of the root, जहाँ पे root का point होता है, और इसी तरह से shoot का upper का point at the root tip and the shoot tip. Okay, these kind of hormones are found in greater concentration because वहाँ पे cell division होता है. Yes, another example of plant hormones are gibberellins, which, like auxins, help in the growth of the stem. Cytokinins promote cell division, and it is natural that they are present in greater concentration in areas where cell division such as fruits and seeds take place rapidly. These are examples of plant hormones that help in promoting growth. But plants also need signals to stop growing. You see, there has to be a signal by which, okay, now no more hormones are required. So uske liye there is another hormone. But plants also need signals to stop growing. Abscisic acid is one example of a growth inhibitor, hormone which inhibits growth. Its effects include wilting of leaves. Okay, leaves खर जाए, autumn season for example, पानकर ऋतु, जब winter से पहले autumn आता है, तब है ना plants they start shedding their leaves. That is also because of abscisic acid. Abscisic acid एक signal देता है कि the leaves might start falling, so the leaves begin to fall. So that is also time control. It doesn't happen during the spring season. It happens only during the autumn season. जैसे ही spring आता है, तो abscisic acid की मात्रा कम हो जाती है. Okay, gibberellin, cytokinins खास करके उसकी मात्रा बढ़ जाती है, and new leaves begin to come. So you see, it is these plant hormones. Plant hormones are all chemicals. Similarly, we also got a lot of chemicals. Our body is regulated by chemicals, not just electrical impulses. Alright, let's carry on now. All the answers, of course, will be questions and answers will be there in the PDF. And there are still many students who are not responding. and since I don't know whether they are actually studying or not, I am not giving this PDF to everyone. Only those who are responding and I know they are studying, उसको मैं PDF देता हूँ. बाकी दूसरे जो करना ही नहीं चाहते उसको PDF देके क्या करो. क्वेश्चन आंसर्स जरूरी है और वो मैंने तैयार भी कर दिया है, वो तुम्हें मिलते रहेंगे. Hormones in animals. Okay. Some students have not subscribed, some students don't like anything, they don't even send messages. Any question, even you are allowed to ask a question in the comment section. If you have a question, write your question in the comment section below the video. Let me know what your question is. That would be a suggestion, a recommendation, so that I can actually improve the videos for you. That's the whole idea behind commenting. You don't have to every time agree with me, you are allowed to disagree also. Alright, hormones in animals. Alright, now let's carry on. Now, we are also, remember, we humans are also animals. So, our body also produces hormones. Different organs are there in our body which produces different hormones. Okay, what are those organs? There is a whole system called the endocrine system. There is a system in the body called the endocrine system. What is this endocrine system? Endocrine system is a system of glands, ductless glands, DUCT. डक्टलेस ग्लैंड्स. उसका कोई डक्ट नहीं होता है. ये डक्ट क्या होता है? डक्ट एक ओपनिंग होता है, जिस ओपनिंग और ट्यूब लाइक ओपनिंग, जिसमें से उसका जो हार्मोन केमिकल है वो ब्लड स्ट्रीम में जाता है, लेकिन वो डक्ट वाले ग्लैंड है. ये जो एंडोक्राइन सिस्टम है डक्टलेस ग्लैंड्स है, मतलब उसका कोई डक्ट नहीं होता है, वो डायरेक्टली ब्लड स्ट्रीम के अंदर हार्मोन्स को भेजते हैं. ओके, फॉर एग्जांपल एड्रेनलिन ग्लैंड और थायराइड ग्लैंड. ये थायराइड ग्लैंड जो गले में होता है, एड्रिनल ग्लैंड्स, दीज ग्लैंड्स, उसका जो हार्मोन निकलता है, पिट्यूटरी ग्लैंड, ब्रेन के बेस ऑफ द ब्रेन, पिट्यूटरी, स्मॉल पीनट साइज ग्लैंड, they pour their secretions, they release their secretions directly into the bloodstream. उसका कोई डक्ट पाइप जैसा ओपनिंग नहीं होता है. Alright, now let's see what happens here. How are such chemicals or hormones, hormonal means of information transmission used in animals? What do some animals, for instance squirrels, experience when they are in a scary situation? अगर स्क्विरल के सामने सांप आ जाए, स्नेक आ जाए, तो वो तो स्क्विरल बट एकदम डर जाएगी. बट वी नो हाउ फास्ट द स्क्विरल इज. स्क्विरल को पकड़ना ऑलमोस्ट नामुमकिन हो जाता है, इवन स्नेक के लिए. ओके, काफी एकदम, इट्स वेरी फास्ट, it moves very quickly, it turns around also very quickly, a squirrel. So how does it respond? When it sees a snake, it is frightened, scared. Okay, तो उसका immediately hormonal response होता है. You see, we animals are designed for two things, flight or fight. या तो हम fight करेंगे या तो हम flight मतलब भाग जाएंगे. दो response mechanism है. अगर मैं चिंपांजी के सामने आ जाऊं तो शायद मैं भाग नहीं जाऊंगा. ओके, खड़ा रहूंगा, देखूंगा तमाशा. लेकिन अगर मेरे सामने शेर आ जाएगा तो सबसे पहले कुछ लोग इतना डर जाते कि वहीं पे हिल नहीं सकते हैं. Otherwise most of them would run for the life. So there are two things. Our body is meant for, there are two mechanisms, fight or flight, and that helps to save our life. When we fight, it helps to survive, it helps to save our life. When we flight means when we take flight, when we run away, that also helps to save our life. Alright, so the bodies have to prepare for either fighting or running away. Both are very complicated activities that will use a great deal of energy in controlled ways. Many different types of tissues will be used and their activities integrated together in these actions. However, the two alternative activities, fighting or running, are also quite different. When you fight, it is a different thing. When you run for your life, you are scared and it is completely different. You see, when you do an exercise or when you are playing games, your body needs more oxygen. So your heart begins to beat faster. Why? Because it wants to get more oxygen and supply more oxygen to every single cell. So जरूरत बढ़ जाती है, इसलिए हार्ट रेट बढ़ जाता है. ऑक्सीजन की जरूरत बढ़ जाती है, हार्ट रेट बढ़ जाता है, ब्लड प्रेशर बढ़ जाता है. बट जब जरूरत भी नहीं है फिर भी हार्ट रेट बढ़ जाता है, ओके, तो वो तकलीफ वाली चीज है. उसको बोलते हैं भय, डर, फियर. ओके, अगर कोई घूमने जा रहा है, अचानक ऐसी परिस्थिति आ जाए जहाँ पे डरावनी परिस्थिति है, भूत दिख जाए या कुछ भी, जो भी ऐसी चीज, वैसे भूत नहीं होता लेकिन फिर भी मान लो कि ऐसी कोई डरावनी चीज सामने आ जाए, तो फिर अचानक उसका जो हार्ट रेट है वो बढ़ जाएगा. ओके, और वो हार्ट पाल्पिटेशंस के साथ उसका ब्लड प्रेशर भी बढ़ जाएगा, वो लंबे लंबे सांस लेने की, मतलब he'll start breathing heavily. Now this is a typical response. When you are scared, the adrenal glands, two adrenal glands, a pair of adrenal glands, okay, they will release a hormone called adrenaline. ये adrenaline hormone will be released directly into the bloodstream. और इसके इफेक्ट क्या आती है? उसकी इफेक्ट ये है कि हार्ट begins to beat faster. Okay, so our mechanism, our body is different for fighting mechanism. हमारा जो flight and fight mechanism है काफी अलग है. Alright, many are different. However, the two alternatives, activities, fighting or running, are quite different. So here is a situation in which some common preparations can be useful, usually made in the body. These preparations should ideally make it easier to do either activity, fight or flight, in the future. How would this be achieved? How can this be done? Alright, now let's see. There are a couple of things I have written here. This is called fight or flight mechanism in animals. Okay, animals are able to show this. Remember, trees cannot, because trees do not have locomotion. There is another question here. What is adrenaline hormone? What is its function? And which organs secrete adrenaline hormone? So there is one question here. What is adrenaline hormone? What is its function? Which organs secrete adrenaline hormone? And here, of course, this was just a short note there. This is called fight or flight mechanism in animals. Then there is a third one here. What happens when adrenaline is secreted directly into the bloodstream? As I told you, the heart rate goes up, the blood pressure goes up, we begin to breathe heavily. Okay. So next paragraph. If the body designed in the squirrel relied only on electrical impulses via the nerve cells, the neurons, the range of tissues instructed to prepare for the coming activity would be limited. On the other hand, if a chemical signal were to be sent as well, it would reach all the cells of the squirrel's body and provide the squirrel with wide-ranging changes that are needed for it to run away. This is done in many animals, including human beings, using a hormone called adrenaline that is secreted by the adrenal glands. Okay, and that is shown in the next diagram. Okay. Adrenaline is secreted directly into the bloodstream and is carried to different parts of the body. The target organs of this hormone or the specific tissue on which it acts includes the heart. As a result, the heart begins to beat faster, resulting in supply of more oxygen to our muscles. That means we are able to run sometimes. The blood to the digestive system and the skin. The blood to the digestive system and the skin is reduced due to contraction of muscles around the small arteries in these organs. This diverts the blood to our skeletal muscles. The breathing rate also increases. Remember, this is all because of adrenaline hormone. Okay, all these responses because of the contraction of the diaphragm. The diaphragm is a small muscular strip. Okay, it's a muscular. It's not very thick. It's quite thin also, but it is a membrane between the chest cavity and the abdominal cavity. This diverts the blood to our skeletal muscles. The breathing rate also increases because of the contraction of the diaphragm and the rib muscles. All these responses together enable the animal body to be ready to deal with the situation. Such animal hormones are part of the endocrine system, which constitutes a second way of control and coordination. So this question here, what happens when adrenaline is secreted directly into the bloodstream, the heart muscles? Okay, the heart begins to beat faster, the blood pressure increases, you breathe faster, muscles get more supply of energy so they can actually start activating themselves. At the same time, there is also a question here, what is the endocrine system? Now, just look, you should actually be writing this, highlighting this and writing this on the margins. Remember, it's your book. Okay, what is the endocrine system? It is a system of ductless glands that release the secretions directly into the bloodstream. Example, adrenal glands, pituitary gland. Okay, that release the secretions directly into the bloodstream. Example, adrenal glands or pituitary glands. These are all examples of adrenal or other ductless glands, endocrine glands. Alright, then identify the endocrine glands mentioned in the figure, and see, if you don't know, look up the library. This is the activity. We'll just have a look at that just now. Remember that plants have hormones that control the directional growth. The plant hormones are auxins, gibberellins, cytokinins, abscisic acid. Those are plant hormones. Okay, हमारे बॉडी के अंदर तो बहुत सारे हार्मोन्स हैं. They regulate growth and mechanism. What functions do animal hormones perform? On the face of it, we cannot imagine the role in directional growth. Okay, we have never seen an animal growing more in one direction or the other depending on light or gravity. हमारे हाथ लाइट की तरफ नहीं जाते, हमारे पैर ग्रेविटी की तरफ बड़े नहीं होते हैं. Okay, otherwise they will keep growing throughout life. But if you think about it a bit more, it will become evident, it will become clear that even in animal bodies, growth happens carefully in controlled places only. Plants will grow, इसलिए तो हमको 6 फिंगर्स नहीं होते, 7 फिंगर्स कभी कभी होते हैं ऐसे लोग तो, लेकिन they are called freaks. They are more of accidents of nature. They are not the normal thing. Plants will grow limbs in many places on the plant body, for example, but we do not grow fingers in our faces. The design of the body is carefully maintained even during the growth of children, from a baby to an infant to a teenager. Okay, now here this diagram, this is an important diagram, please just look at it carefully. Okay, adrenal, these are endocrine glands in human beings, male as well as female. There are only 1 or 2 small differences between the male and female body as far as glands go. Okay, for example, दोनों में hypothalamus होता है. Okay, hypothalamus is part of the brain. It has huge function. Okay, दूसरे glands को भी control करता है. Pineal gland, small, it's almost a peanut size. Pineal gland, pituitary gland, hypothalamus. देखो दोनों में, male and female दोनों में होता है. Okay, they are all located near the brain or around the brain. Okay, then parathyroid glands, thymus and thyroid glands. इसमें भी देखो मेल और फीमेल दोनों में parathyroid gland, thymus and thyroid gland. They are all endocrine glands. They all secrete hormones, and they secrete their hormones directly into the bloodstream, and as a result of it, they regulate something. Okay, then the pancreas. दोनों में देखो pancreas है, वही जगह पे है, गलत जगह पे नहीं है. Adrenal glands, जिसके बारे में अभी मैं बात कर रहा था. They are also in the same place. Both have male and female, but the difference is in the reproductive organs, and that is where the organs differ. For example, in the humans, we have a pair of testes. The human male has a pair of testes which secrete testosterone. Testosterone is a male sex hormone. Okay, it regulates secondary sexual characteristics and the formation of sperms in the testes. Whereas in the female, they have got the ovaries. Okay, the ovaries secrete 2 hormones. Both are called sex hormones. One is called estrogen, the other is called progesterone. Estrogen and progesterone, both are secreted by the ovaries. They regulate secondary sexual characteristics in females, human females. The same thing happens, but the male sex hormone testosterone is secreted by a pair of testes in males. Okay, so other than this, both of them show the same type of hormonal glands and hormones. Okay, now let us examine some examples to understand how hormones help in coordinated growth. Okay, we have all seen salt packets which say iodized salt, टाटा का iodized salt. Okay, पहले iodized salt नहीं मिलता था, लेकिन उस iodine is very necessary. Iodine is necessary for the production of thyroxine. Thyroxine is a hormone which is produced by the thyroid gland. The thyroid gland is found in this neck region. Okay, and thyroid gland में से thyroxine निकलता है, लेकिन thyroxine hormone को लिए iodine जरूरी है. बहुत सारे लोगों को पानी में आयोडीन नहीं मिलता है, खाने में आयोडीन नहीं होता है, तो उन लोगों को एक कंडीशन आ जाता है, जो मेडिकल कंडीशन, उसको गोइटर बोलते हैं. GOITRE. Goiter is a condition caused due to the lack of iodine in the salt or in the water or in the food. Iodine पूरी मात्रा में नहीं मिलता उन लोगों को. जैसे राजस्थान है, राजस्थान के कुछ एरियाज में, okay, कुछ एरिया, not all parts of Rajasthan, but in certain parts of Rajasthan, the drinking water and the food and the soil, even the soil, because soil में से तो आता है, soil और drinking water में iodine की मात्रा या तो बिल्कुल नहीं है या तो बहुत कम है. Now these people suffer from a lack of iodine, इसलिए उसको गोइटर हो जाता है. उस एरिया में लोगों को ये जो गले का पोर्शन है एकदम फूला हुआ होता है, कभी कभी नीचे की तरफ आ जाता है, इस तरह से बड़ा फूल जाता है. That condition is called goiter, and goiter is caused due to lack of iodine in the food or in the drinking water. But that is why we are asked to consume iodized salt. इसलिए आजकल जो बाजार में मिलता है वो iodized salt मिलता है. और गोइटर एक ऐसी कंडीशन है जो रिवर्सिबल नहीं है. उसके बाद यस, अगर आपको आयोडीन मिलना चालू हो जाता है, शुरू हो जाता है, ठीक है, उसको रोक सकते हो, लेकिन एक बार स्टार्ट हो गया है उसको रोक सकते हो लेकिन रिवर्स नहीं कर सकते हो. दैट इज द थिंग. फिर वो मेडिकल कंडीशन ऐसी है कि वो रिवर्स नहीं हो सकती है. Iodine is necessary for thyroid gland to make thyroxine hormone. Thyroxine regulates carbohydrates, protein and fat metabolism in the body so as to provide the best balance for growth. Iodine is essential for the synthesis of thyroxine in the thyroid gland. In case iodine is deficient in our diet, there is possibility that we might suffer from a condition called goiter. Goiter is not a disease, it's a medical condition. One of the symptoms in this disease is a swollen neck, pura neck region. Can you correlate this with the position of thyroid gland in the neck region? Okay, let's go ahead. Sometimes we come across people who are either very short, they are dwarfs, उसको हम छोटे बोलते हैं एकदम midgets, और extremely tall giants जैसे basketball players या तो उससे भी बड़े. Have you ever wondered why this happens and how it happens? Well, the answer for that is very simple. There is a gland in the body which we have just seen here, the pituitary gland. वो छोटा सा peanut sized gland in the brain, in the base of the brain. It secretes a hormone called growth stimulating hormone. This growth stimulating hormone stimulates growth. अगर बचपन में पूरी मात्रा में ग्रोथ स्टिमुलेटिंग हार्मोन निकलता नहीं है तो ऐसे बच्चे एकदम शॉर्ट हो जाते हैं, एकदम शॉर्ट. वो आपने सर्कस देखा होगा, सर्कस में वो जोकर की तरह से खेलते रहते हैं, वो छोटे छोटे 2 फुट 2.5 फुट 3 फुट वाले, दे आर ऑल ड्वार्फ्स. और उन लोगों को ये बीमारी थी, ये कंडीशन, मेडिकल कंडीशन, जिसके पिट्यूटरी ग्लैंड में से जो हार्मोन निकलना चाहिए फॉर द ग्रोथ स्टिमुलेटिंग हार्मोन वो पूरी मात्रा में निकलता नहीं है, इसलिए वो जिंदगी भर ऐसे छोटे रहते हैं. लेकिन उसका अपोजिट कंडीशन भी है, जाइगेंटिज्म. ओके, अब ये जाइगेंटिज्म क्या है? वो जायंट्स बहुत बड़े बड़े 7 फुट 8 फुट 7.5 फुट इस तरह के हो जाते हैं. क्यों? क्योंकि उसके पिट्यूटरी ग्लैंड में से जो ग्रोथ स्टिमुलेटिंग हार्मोन निकलना चाहिए वो बहुत निकलता है, ज्यादा निकलता है. उसकी वजह से उसकी बॉडी का ग्रोथ एकदम रैपिडली हो जाता है. ऐसे बच्चे हैं ना, जब 10 साल के हो जाते हैं तो लगता है कि वो 16-17 साल के हैं. सो दैट्स व्हाई दे बिकम वेरी टॉल एंड वेरी बिग. That is called dwarfism. Opposite of dwarfism, that is called gigantism. That is again related to this. Okay, the growth hormone, and it is found in the pituitary gland. All right. See here, there is another note. Do you know hypothalamus? Again, small section, small part near the brain. Hypothalamus plays an important role in the release of many hormones. For example, when the level of growth hormone which is secreted by the pituitary gland, अगर उसका मात्रा बहुत कम है तो हाइपोथैलेमस उसको रेगुलेट करता है. हाइपोथैलेमस रिलीजेस अ ग्रोथ हार्मोन रिलीजिंग फैक्टर. दिस अगेन इज अ केमिकल. ओके, वो कोई इट्स नॉट मैथमेटिकल फैक्टर और समथिंग, इट्स अ ग्रोथ रिलीजिंग का फैक्टर है. इट्स अ बायोकेमिकल which stimulates the pituitary gland to release more growth hormone. लेकिन कभी कभी वो मैकेनिज्म भी फेल हो जाता है. ये हाइपोथैलेमस का जो मैकेनिज्म है वो भी फेल हो जाता है, इसलिए ऐसे बच्चे फिर बहुत शॉर्ट रह जाते हैं. Alright? Now, see, you must have noticed that many dramatic changes in your appearance as well as that your friends as you approach the age of puberty. 10-15 साल के हो जाते हैं तब तक आपकी बॉडी में, शरीर में चेंजेस आ जाते हैं. That is called onset of puberty. Okay, girls, they become slightly heavier in the hips. The hips enlarge. Okay, the breasts make an appearance. They enlarge and they become sexually stimulated because of 2 hormones. The ovaries in the females release 2 hormones. One is estrogen and the other is progesterone. Girls on an average mature or reach puberty earlier by about 1 or 2 years compared to boys. So about 10 to 12, 13 years, girls reach puberty, boys reach generally 13, 14, 15, they reach puberty. Okay, secondary sexual characteristics, the voice becomes thicker. Then boys begin to develop hair on the face, mustache and beard, and their voice becomes thicker and gruffer. These are called secondary sexual characteristics. Again, that happens because of hormones. And those hormones in boys, that is in males, that hormone is called the testosterone hormone, that is the male sex hormone. In females is estrogen and progesterone, that is female sex hormone. They release these chemicals, and these chemicals, actually these hormones, estrogen, progesterone, okay, and testosterone, they cause certain changes in your body, and that happens in the onset of puberty or adolescence, the beginning of teenage, 12, 13, 14, beginning of teenage. All right. Do you know anyone in your family or friends who is suffering from a different kind of disease, who is advised by the doctors to take less sugar in the diet because they are suffering from a condition called diabetes? Diabetes is becoming more and more common. More and more people are developing this condition called diabetes because of excess sugar in their food. बार बार शुगरी फूड्स, हमको केक पसंद है, ये पसंद है, वो जिसमें बहुत शुगर होता है, फिर कोई फिजिकल एक्टिविटी भी नहीं होती, ऐसे लोगों को ओके, ऐसे लोगों को प्रॉब्लम क्या होता है कि उनकी बॉडी में, उसकी बॉडी में शुगर की मात्रा इतनी बढ़ जाती है कि दे स्टार्ट हैविंग डिफरेंट काइंड्स ऑफ प्रॉब्लम्स। ओके, तो उस शुगर को रेगुलेट करने के लिए एक पैंक्रियास है। पैंक्रियास इज द ऑर्गन which releases, pancreas is a small feather like organ, feather जैसा है, उसमें से एक इंसुलिन जैसा हार्मोन निकलता है। So pancreas produces an substance or hormone called insulin. इंसुलिन ब्लड शुगर को रेगुलेट करता है। जब हम मीठी चीजें खाते हैं तो हमारा ब्लड शुगर बढ़ जाता है। सिर्फ मीठी चीज नहीं, कोई भी चीज खाते हैं, बार बार बिस्किट्स वगैरह कुछ भी खा लेते हैं, तो हमारा ब्लड शुगर लेवल हमेशा ऊपर जाता है। उसकी वजह से पैंक्रियास में से इंसुलिन निकलता है। इंसुलिन शुगर को नीचे लाता है फिर से। इसलिए तो ये जो लोग बहुत मोटापा मतलब ओबेसिटी, वजन बढ़ जाता है, क्यों? क्योंकि ये लोग बार बार खाते हैं, फिर इंसुलिन की लेवल बढ़ जाती है, फिर रादर शुगर की लेवल बढ़ जाती है, फिर इंसुलिन जाके उसकी मात्रा को कम करता है। धीरे धीरे परिस्थिति ऐसी हो जाती है कि इंसुलिन ज्यादा निकलता है, फिर भी ब्लड शुगर नीचे नहीं आता। ओके, उसको बोलते हैं ग्लूकोज टॉलरेंस। उसकी जो ग्लूकोज मतलब ग्लूकोज इज अ काइंड ऑफ शुगर, उसकी वजह से बहुत ऊपर आ जाता है शुगर का लेवल, एंड देन दैट कंडीशन इज कॉल्ड डायबिटीज। डायबिटीज खतरनाक कंडीशन है, उसकी वजह से बहुत सारे दूसरे प्रॉब्लम्स होते हैं। आई डोंट वांट टू गो इनटू दोस प्रॉब्लम्स जस्ट नाउ। जैसे कि फॉर एग्जांपल, वन एग्जांपल आई गिव यू, पुअर आईसाइट। डायबिटीज जिसको होती है ना, धीरे धीरे उसकी आईसाइट भी पुअर हो जाती है। There are lots of problems. Okay, weight related problems भी हो जाते हैं, and so on. So you want to stay away from excess sugary foods, ताकि डायबिटीज न हो जाए। और फिर इंसुलिन की मात्रा भी ऊपर नीचे जाएगी। इंसुलिन is a hormone which is secreted by pancreas. All right, now look here. See some questions here. Which hormones are associated with puberty? Okay, the onset of adolescence, teenage. Puberty में estrogen and progesterone secreted by the female ovaries, and in males testosterone secreted by the pair of testes in males. And of course there is a question here again, what is diabetes, which I explained to you right now. What is insulin? It is secreted, a hormone secreted by the pancreas. Where is it produced? In the pancreas. What is the function of insulin? To control blood sugar. Okay, जो शुगर की मात्रा खाने के बाद बढ़ जाती है, okay, उसको कंट्रोल करना। Alright, then let's come to the next part of the chapter here. It is so important that hormones should be secreted in precise quantities. देखो ये हार्मोन जो सीक्रेट होते हैं, 2-4 किलो सीक्रेट नहीं होते हैं. It's not in large amount, just a few ml, milliliters, 1 ml, half ml, very small amounts of hormones are secreted. We need a mechanism through which this is done. The timing and amount of hormone released are regulated by a feedback mechanism. ये feedback mechanism जैसे, देखो मैं आपको पढ़ाता हूँ, मैं आपसे फीडबैक चाहता हूँ. It helps me also. अगर आप कमेंट देते हो, okay, you make a comment, sir, we love this video, or we hope this video could have been a bit longer or a bit shorter, okay, or maybe you are going fast, I wish you could go a bit slowly, or maybe you could give some more examples or something like that. The voice is very clear, the voice volume is low, or the voice volume is high, something like that. That is called feedback. Feedback helps us to regulate and improve things, and that is why feedback is important. Okay, so when you like the video and provide a comment, write a comment, it is a feedback. In the same way, hormones regulate करते हैं, लेकिन feedback mechanism होता है. जैसे sugar levels बढ़ जाते हैं, okay, sugar levels एकदम बढ़ जाते हैं, तो एक तरह से feedback मिलता है किसको, pancreas को, कि भाई sugar levels एकदम बढ़ गई है, तो ये pancreas क्या करेगा, फिर फट देके इंसुलिन रिलीज करेगा. वो इंसुलिन ब्लड में जाके शुगर लेवल को नीचे लाएगा. जैसे ही शुगर लेवल नीचे आता है, पैंक्रियास को फीडबैक मिलता है, और पैंक्रियास शुगर लेवल को नीचे हो गया, इसलिए वो इंसुलिन का प्रोडक्शन बंद कर देगा. ओके, दिस कांस्टेंट फीडबैक मैकेनिज्म इज गोइंग ऑन इन द बॉडी, व्हिच इज सो इंपॉर्टेंट. फॉर एग्जांपल, द शुगर लेवल्स इन द ब्लड राइज, दे आर डिटेक्टेड बाय द सेल्स ऑफ द पैंक्रियास, व्हिच रिस्पोंड बाय प्रोड्यूसिंग मोर इंसुलिन. As the blood sugar levels fall, insulin secretion is reduced. Okay, you see there are certain spatial cells. Okay, I'll just write a note out here. There are certain spatial cells. Okay, they are called islets of Langerhans. Okay, I'll just write it here. Okay, which produce insulin. Islets of Langerhans. What are these islets of Langerhans? They are actually cells, okay, cells in the pancreas which produce insulin. Once again, see, islets of Langerhans. What are these? Although it's not written in a book, doesn't matter. It's something which you should know. जो पेनक्रियास होता है उसके अंदर कुछ सेल्स होते हैं, ओके, पेनक्रियास के अंदर ये कुछ सेल्स होते हैं. These cells are actually called islets of Langerhans. छोटे सेल्स, जैसे नर्व के सेल्स होते हैं उसको कैसे न्यूरॉन्स बोलते हैं, ओके, द नर्व सेल्स आर कॉल्ड न्यूरॉन्स, ओके. इन द सेम वे द सेल्स which produce insulin in the pancreas, cells in the pancreas which produce insulin are called islets of Langerhans, okay. So that is the feedback mechanism. So as soon as, for example, the sugar levels in the blood rise, they are detected by the cells of the pancreas which respond by producing more insulin. And as the blood sugar level falls, feedback mechanism की वजह से insulin secretion कम हो जाती है. Alright. Now look at this. Hormones are secreted by endocrine glands and have specific functions. Complete table 7.1. This has been completed. You see, it's not possible for me to write this because there are certain restrictions in using this. You cannot simply, you see, writing within the pre-written. This is something that you can read on. Okay, the table cannot be completed, but I have given this in the PDF. Okay, hormones are secreted by endocrine glands and have specific functions. Complete the table. Okay, for example, growth hormone. The growth hormone is secreted by the pituitary gland and it stimulates growth in all organs. Thyroid gland secretes thyroxine. So thyroxine is secreted by the thyroid gland and it regulates metabolism for body growth. Okay. Insulin, it is secreted by pancreas and it regulates blood sugar. Testosterone, it is secreted by testes and it has got reproductive functions. The testes which testosterone, it regulates secondary sexual characteristics. Similarly, ovaries produce two hormones, estrogen and progesterone. They are produced by the ovaries and the development of female sex organs regulate menstrual cycle in girls, etc. Okay, then adrenaline is produced by the adrenal glands, a pair of adrenal glands. Okay, they sort of regulate our flight and fight mechanism. Releasing hormones like growth releasing hormone, growth stimulating hormones. Okay, they are released by many organs, especially the pituitary gland. Stimulates pituitary glands to release hormones, and that is generally the hypothalamus. The hypothalamus releasing hormone is secreted by the hypothalamus. It stimulates pituitary gland to release hormones. Alright, so these are some of the things that are some of the detailed parts of the movement of hormones and animals' bodies. How movement takes place in animal body, control and coordination takes place in animals through chemicals called hormones. Alright, what you have learned and these questions are there, all of them are answered in the PDF. Okay, if there is something that you would like to know or missed out, you can always ask me. Okay, whatever question you have, you are most welcome to write that question in the comment section. Something that you would like me to discuss. मान लो कि आज आपने कुछ सुना है, उसके बारे में और कुछ इंफॉर्मेशन चाहिए या जानना चाहते हो, तो फिर उसमें कमेंट सेक्शन में आप लिख सकते हो. You can write it in the comment section. I will read your comment. I will respond to your comments also. And next video में शायद उसके बारे में चर्चा भी करूँगा. So you are most welcome to write your comments. Okay, comments are not just simply to praise me. सिर्फ प्रेज करने के लिए नहीं है. You are allowed to write your comments there. If you want something else, if you want something more, or if you want a little bit more information on something that you heard from me, you are most welcome to write that. You can write a question. By all means, I welcome questions. I just love questions. Okay, thank you. Have a nice day. We'll carry on. Now remember the second question, the second lesson of biology is over. I'm going to do one more lesson from the last part, the last 3 chapters. Okay, our natural resources or something that way. Okay, that one from the general science section. We'll carry on one science chapter in the morning and one chapter of maths in the afternoon. Today I am going to do exercise 14.1 from statistics. I'll try to finish the whole exercise in one single video. So keep watching for that. Okay, and all the best for your exam. Keep preparing. Okay, have a nice day. Thank you.